Modern portrayals of cowhands in the present day illustrate them participating in intense gun battles, grand equestrian journeys, and perilously valiant quests. Yet, the considerable stretches of time spent in the great outdoors also demanded meticulous preparations, particularly with regards to sustenance. These cowpokes could find themselves absent for months on end, whether they were driving cattle or evading the authorities. Consequently, the availability of fresh provisions was a rare occurrence, prompting the creation of nourishing victuals that boasted remarkable longevity. In the same manner that a military force advances fueled by provisions, cowboys too relied on hearty meals to forge ahead. Number 1, cowboy food was influenced by the vaqueros of Mexico. Much of the food that cowboys ate was influenced by the vaqueros of Texas, a North African Spanish and Mexican people who were the original cowboys. The vaqueros were early versions of independent contractors who would sell their skills to anyone who needed a highly skilled rancher. They owned their own horses, saddles, and ropes. Since they were highly skilled horse people, they found lots of work as ranchers in North America. Some patrons even set up whole communities for vaqueros on their ranches or established ranch schools for vaquero children who would go on to become ranchers themselves. Vaqueros revolutionized the cattle business, and so were the first to introduce the clothing, techniques, and lifestyle that were to become the staples of cowboys in North America's Wild West. As a result, much cowboy food has a distinctly Mexican influence, with foods such as the son of a gun stew, made of animal heart, liver, and tripe differing little from the Mexican dish menudo. Number 2, meat formed a big part of the cowboy diet. In the early to mid-1800 ES, food in the Old West would have been significantly better than pretty any other wilderness fare. A significant part of the cowboy diet was made up of the large amounts of cattle that abounded. Smoked jerky was the most common way of consuming beef since it lasted longer and could be used in stews. Salted pork was used when beef wasn't available since it had a very long shelf life. However, it had to be soaked in water for many hours to reduce the salt, as eating it directly would make you ill. As the most heavily traded food product amongst the indigenous American population, pemmican was a portable and high-calorie food. Made up of rendered fat mixed with dried meat and formed into bars, it was able to last for years and was used as a backup food. Depending on the area, cowboys might hunt and fish for fresh meat, but this was uncommon and not relied upon. Number 3, beans, biscuits, potatoes, and fruit were popular. Cowboys would have eaten hardtacks, a dense bread made with few ingredients that resemble modern-day biscuits. These were edible for years. The only downside is that they were rock hard, so had to be soaked in water or milk before eating. Beans and potatoes were also by far the two most common vegetables in the Old West. They could be cooked quickly and added to a number of dishes like stews. Beans could also be dried and rehydrated months later. A favorite way to do so was to slowly rehydrate them by cooking them in a mixture of molasses and water. Pecan and almond plantations made many nuts that weren't deemed suitable to sell abroad. Small, portable, and nutrient-dense nuts were therefore popular. Apples were the most common fruit and made up the majority of the dried fruit supply. However, apricots, cherries, peaches, and other fruits would also be available depending on the region. Number 4, Chuckwagons started accompanying cowboys on cattle trails. In the 18th and 19th centuries, the gold rush and a general population increase meant that there was a sudden uptake in demand for food. This led to beef needing to become yet more mass-produced, meaning that cowboy teams would increase up to 30 men for the larger herds. Rancher and cattle baron Charles Goodnight recognized the importance of attracting the best possible ranchers available, so invented the chuckwagon, a military wagon with a trunk attached, as a means of attracting the best talent. Chuckwagons carried food, cooking supplies, and medical kits and were driven by the cook who rode alongside the cowboys on the cattle trail. This allowed the ranchers, who often had to travel long distances, to enjoy freshly prepared hot food rather than whatever preserved food they could carry. Number 5, the cook was a vital member of the team. The drive's cook, often nicknamed Cookie, worked longer hours than the cowboys. He would rise long before the ranchers to grind coffee and work on his sourdough starter, which would then be used to make bread, biscuits, or flapjacks for breakfast. He would then ride ahead as the cowboys ate and start preparing the lunch in a designated area. Along the way, he might look for herbs and vegetables, eggs from nests, or even hunt and fish to provide fresh food for the coming party of ranchers. In addition to his role as head chef, the cook's job was important since they also took on the roles of doctor, nurse, pharmacist, veterinarian, and even letter writer too. Their reputation could influence whether a cowboy decided to work for one ranch or another. Number 6. The cowboy's connection to the wild. Out there, where the land stretched forever and the sky never seemed to end, cowboys found a special link to everything around them. It wasn't just about riding horses and herding cattle. It was also about knowing the land's hidden gifts. Picture this. Cowboys would walk through dry deserts, thick forests, and wide plains. And in all these places they knew what they could eat. They could find plants that were good to eat, roots that were tasty, and even berries that were safe. These things grew naturally, and the cowboys knew how to find them. Sometimes, these wild things they found turned into the most amazing meals. They'd put strong-tasting wild onions in their stews, and these made the food special. Sour-tasting sorrel leaves made their meals different and exciting. And then there were nuts, like pecans and walnuts, hanging from trees, ready to be picked and eaten. These added a delicious crunch to their meals. As the sun went down and the stars appeared, the cowboys would come together around a fire. They'd talk about their day while the smell of their cooking filled the air. The sound of fish sizzling on the fire, mixed with herbs they found, made their meals even better. It was like they were telling nature's story through their food. This way of connecting with the land wasn't just about surviving. It was about celebrating how everything in nature works together. Even in the tough Wild West, nature offered them special flavors, and they knew how to use them. While cowboys were known for their tough work and simple meals, they also had this secret. They could turn the things they found in the wild into something amazing to eat. It's like they added a pinch of nature's magic to their journey, making it even more special.